So much so that he connects his forgiveness with ours. God expects forgiven people to forgive others so much so he connects his forgiveness with ours. We all know the Lord's Prayer, right? What is the one clause in the Lord's Prayer that has a condition attached to it? Forgiveness, right? But it's not the condition we would expect. You see, if I were predicting Jesus was going to give us a condition to pray in a model prayer about forgiveness, it would be something like this. Heavenly Father, please use the standard. Heavenly Father, please help me forgive others the way you have forgiven me. But that's not what Jesus says to pray. What Jesus literally says for us to pray is, Dear Heavenly Father, please use a standard that I use in dealing with the people who wound me as a standard you use to relate to me. Well, do we want God using anything we do as his standard, particularly how we deal with wounds? But that's what Jesus says to pray. In fact, it's the only clause in the Lord's Prayer that Jesus gives immediate commentary to when he says, if you forgive men their trespasses, your Father will forgive you. If you don't, he won't. Now, we're talking about eternal security. That's a whole different question. What Jesus is saying is this: the way we deal with the people who wound us is how God is going to relate to us while we're walking around on the planet. Is that unsettling to you? It ought to be. And it's not the only time he says it. Multiple times throughout the Gospels, he says something very similar. In fact, in Mark, he says, whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have something against someone. In other words, if you come to God in prayer and you've been wounded since the last time you talked to God in prayer and you've not dealt with those wounds, God says, I don't want to have the conversation with you. Our unforgiveness impacts our ability to pray.